Welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to look at the Great Bitter Lake crossing. It's interesting. I've been putting off most of the Arab-Israeli wars since forever because they're so detailed, and I think if you don't get them right, it's much more of a clanger than, say, other campaigns. To put it into perspective, I did actually do one of these a long time ago, and I was never happy with it. This one here, Operation Gazelle, and I always thought, well, this doesn't look like much. But now that I've sort of reviewed this, the Great Bitter Lake Crossing, which is this here, I'm a lot happier with it. It just, this is actually it's the right shape, it's the right geography. The fact is, these are sort of like, these are brigades, and yeah, I think this is great as an overview to possibly give you a perspective of where things were. But when you actually then come back and think, well, how does this fit into it? This is a far more detailed sort of, analysis of what happened, and this is the first part of this. This particular part of the war. So this is actually Operation Badr. I'm not sure whether it says that here anywhere. So Operation Badr was actually the first part of the Yom Kippur War. There it says Egyptian crossing. This is the first crossing of Operation Badr in the Yom Kippur War. So what we got is, for Operation Badr, we got forces coming across from everywhere. So I was going to do, there's some up here. These come across first, and then there's like invasions here and here and here, and they also cross sort of here and here. And these ones are the first to cross, and they go across like the Great Bitter Lake. And so what I'm doing is trying to do it sort of bit by bit, because I'm happy to do it like that. One thing that sort of always frustrates me with games of this scale, which is sort of like, it's not all of it. It's actually Operation Gazelle, so I think it's a lot further in. There's no sort of immediate date there. I think I could probably improve this, or but it's all about learning the actual war, the operations and the battles, and so as a first off, I always sort of felt, well, this is a bit like Operation Masher. It doesn't really strike me as being particularly great, but I think that here this is a lot better, because this gives you a clear idea of this part of it. Now, these units up here, they're all basically just sort of there to be static. What you've got to sort of possibly bear in mind is, whilst this operation is going in across here, these units are under, firstly, heavy artillery barrages, so they're all hunkered down. They're not really doing much. They're also under airstrikes, and basically, as these move across, other Egyptian units are basically going to move in here. But this isn't part of that extended operation. This is just the first part of the operation. And so what I'll do next is I'll do another scenario where I focus on the crossings across here, which is this little section that you see here. So I might focus on that and detail the sort of how that works. I'll look into it, and hopefully at the end of the day, because I keep reading it, I'll become more familiar with what actually happened. I mean, I've picked up quite a lot of learning sort of things in this so far. In particular, sort of the images of the pontoon bridges across the canal, and the breaching of the sand dunes with the high pressure water hose pipes, and all of that, and a bit of an understanding of what they were doing, in particular the significance of their use of sort of anti-tank weapons, to sort of really dampen the Israeli counterattack. And to be quite honest, I don't even know who won this war, but I think the Israelis won it again, or at least they pushed the Egyptians back. But I don't know. I haven't got that far, and I've avoided these because they're so specific. If you mess up, you end up with things sort of that just don't really sort of cut the mustard. Really, it's okay if it's sort of like, you know, some sort of vague, some sort of, you know, not particularly well researched. I'm trying to think of the word that means it's not common. Some obscure African civil war. You know, that's okay, maybe. You know, to have this sort of level of detail, but you know, I think that. So what I'm trying to do is to get it right to some extent, and this sort of mostly gets it right. So what we got these units. I'll go into play mode. Let's just see what we got down here. Yeah, these come on turn. So you've only really got this armoured company, and I'll explain this in a bit, and these 3 units here that come on turn 3. Everything else the Israelis don't have. So it's really not a game, it's really more just a reference to sort of what happened. If we go into play mode, I'll sort of explain that. So you can use this unit. This unit is in this fort, and the fort is detailed in the sort of the write-up. So what happens is you've got, let me get my tool out. So what you've got this stuff down here, and this is the 130th Brigade, and then you've got the I can't see it from here. So what we've got is the 130th Amphibious Brigade, which is split up into 2 battalions, the 602 and the 603. The 602 heads east and is intercepted by these the along artillery road. So it's the 602 that goes east. So going back to the sort of scenario, so there's the 130th Amphibious Brigade, and there's the 2 battalions. So this is the 602 and this is the 603. So we've got 1, 2 battalions, and they basically cross. So the 602, which is this lot here, that they basically sort of focus on going this way, but their initial orders are to capture the Gadi Pass and Mittler Pass there, and I don't know where they are, to be honest. I don't know where they are, so I put them there. It does say they engage, and then basically as they're sort of doing that, they are engaged by this by some sort of tank units from Kippur East. It has another name as well, and they beat them back, and then they are basically tasked then with capturing Kippur East. What's it called? Kibrit East. They're tasked with capturing Kibrit East, so then they go and take that. So the first objective is to take these 2 passes. When the Israelis counterattack and then are beaten back, they are tasked again with taking Kibrit East, which they take and they hold for the remainder of the war, or 28 days of it, I think, or 7 days. How long it is, I don't know. However, the 603 are then told to go along Artillery Road. Now, this is probably a bit further down the road. I've probably got the map a bit sort of, well, I could have probably chopped it off there and put this scenario more about here. It's 15 kilometers from the canal. And that's about there, but because it's such a big map, I pushed it back to there. But it doesn't really matter. I could have put the objective here. The whole point is they move along Artillery Road, and then they're intercepted by the Israeli tanks. And so that's pretty much the ins and outs of it. There are a couple of other little things to point out. When they come across, there are minefields, so they've got to go through the minefields. How you do that is up to you. One major point to maybe refer more from a game perspective is that I had to put all these new units in. I had mechanized, amphibious mechanized, but I didn't have amphibious armor. In particular, what we've got in here is engineers. We've got amphibious engineers, we've got amphibious air defense, amphibious anti-tank, amphibious armor. So we've got all these amphibious units in, and it's not just a case of putting amphibious units in. You've got to create all the rules and go through all of the maths in the game so that they work in the same way, and they're probably going to be picking up errors for a while on that. But I thought I'd do it because I wanted to do it sort of properly. And so what you get in the first instance, for example, these are all going across here. So they're basically, when they reach here, unlike here where they've got these massive entrenchments, and they had a name for it. I can't remember. If you look up on Wikipedia, you'll find it. But it was like the Maginot Line. It was supposedly unbeatable. It was supposed to be unbreachable. It was like this fantastic feat of engineering. But they didn't actually put any of this defensive features along here, presumably because they didn't think they'd crossed this lake. But they mined it, and so how you do that is up to you. Now you might want to sort of just land everyone in the mines, take the damage, move on, and then clear the mines for the second wave. Now hopefully these units will just cross. Now again, you might sort of think, well, where do I want to cross? I don't know where I want to cross, because you might want to move to there and then cross here. But maybe that's too far. You might want to sort of move here and cross there. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do both of those things that I've just suggested. Where's their engineers? There. Now what I want to do with these engineers is to actually get them there. Okay, is it going to be better to go along this road? Or are we going to be able to just go this way? I'm going to just go this way. Might as well go into the sea. Maybe I don't have enough movement. Okay. Okay. So we've moved this battalion. This one, I'm going to try and do this point here. I could have just pulled them straight across, but I'm trying to sort of think a little more. Okay. Now I haven't put any air power in there because I didn't see any note of air power being used. And basically they reached the other bank unopposed. So this is the sort of the initial stages, and so this is, we're not going to move the Israelis. We could possibly have maybe tried to move a bit faster because these things are going to come on turn 3, and who knows what they'll do. But end the turn. Right. Now I don't think I'm going to get all the way across, but let's see if these engineers can cross. Yes, they can. 1, 2. So basically, it's going to be tough. Move there. There. I can just move there and there. I'm going to try and bridge there, so that putting all these units here and here is fine. Okay. They're not going to do anything. And look, the tanks have arrived. So they shouldn't be inflicting mine axes. So that's something I've got to deal with. If they were engineers, they wouldn't have done this, because what it's doing, it's saying if engineers, but it's not saying if amphibious engineers. So I'm going to have to sort that out. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to commit damage 1 because it's just a test, but that was not what should have happened. Engineers can go into minefields, so they've both got 1 damage. Oh well. Well, I'm going to start pushing everyone across now. I'm not going to move them because we haven't got across yet. I'll move them the next turn. I'm going to change their entry so they come on a lot later. So what we're witnessing here is this sort of amphibious assault across the Great Bitter Lake, and that's all this is about. So the Egyptian turn, so they've now got that. So let's just see whether this works. So we want to get rid of that mine. No, it's not working, is it? I thought I tested it. No point in playing any further if we can't get these mines out of the way. But I know what the problem is. It's because they're amphibious, and I have to go through all the code and make sure I've got all these things so they function exactly the same as engineers. See, the thing is, they have to have full movement. Yeah, they've got full movement and they're available. No, I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to sort of continue. I'm a bit tired. I've got things to do, but what I'm going to do is try and sort this out. I would pause the video, but there's no way I'm going to sort of do that in this instance. It's just too fiddly because I'm sort of on my location. But what I might be more inclined to do is to just replay this. So I'll sort of call this a sort of an aborted version. But I think, the point is you're getting this very clear indication of how it works. And so what happens is that they clear this minefield, then these all pour through. This comes out and attacks this unit here. These units come along here. They come, presumably they go up along here. They take these passes, move down here towards artillery road, and then get engaged by that. And that's pretty much it. There are obviously lots of other things happening along this line, but that's not part of this sort of this simulation and sort of model. So it should give you a clear idea of this part of the Yom Kippur War, Operation Badr, and hopefully all the pieces will slot together to give you a fairly reasonable idea of how the whole thing went. The only thing to just maybe add on there, they brought along their own air defence, but they also brought their anti-tank units, and these were key, so this is why they're there, and so we'll see how they fare against these units, because they can fire at range at these, in theory. they're amphibious anti-tanks. So again, we have to sort of sort all that out as well, so that make sure they work just like anti-tank units. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.